We've had to change so many things on this program, and one of the things that was planned was to take some time to also remember and honor Muriel James. Because we have buses that are leaving, we were going to skip that over and go straight to the Eric Berne, but actually I don't feel comfortable in doing that, because I think as a community what we do well is honor and remember those people whose shoulders we stand on. And a bus can wait for 5 minutes, but we wouldn't be who we are and where we are without the people that have come before us. So I'm making a undemocratic decision. Through the years of ITAA, we have had the privilege of being blessed to have many inspirational and exceptional members, and Muriel James was certainly one of those special people. She was born, in fact, on Valentine's Day, a day that represents love, and the quality that Muriel embodied in all that she was and all that she did truly spoke to some of the principles of Valentine's Day. Her son Ian wrote, "With Muriel's infectious smile and open heart, she would always offer a word of encouragement and laughter to others, which in turn she believed opened their hearts to find deeper meaning and the purpose of life." It's actually quite fitting to read these words in these times that we are all facing at the moment. For Muriel, being authentic and not only chasing achievement and success were important values. She lived by these. She was a sweet, a dynamic, and a deeply spiritual and religious woman who lived congruently with her principles. She was one of those people who made you feel central when she was with you. She was curious, she was interested, and she was highly creative. She was a true activist and fought for social rights and justice. "It's never too late to be happy" was a central belief of hers, and her teachings in the self-reparenting area have been profound for many, and particularly for many in India. She believed that people can live happier lives when being aware of their internal conversations and turning their attention to positive thoughts, memories, and introjects as opposed to negative ones. Her contribution to our association and our community will always be remembered and hopefully lived through the way we, as individual people and as a collection and a community, consciously choose to live our lives. So with her memory, let us continue today and each day to focus on what we are rather than what we are not, and what we have rather than what we don't have. So I will gently move on to the Eric Berne Award, which again is another of our important parts of our culture that we do take time to acknowledge and appreciate people who contribute to who we are as a community in the furthering of both who we are as individuals and as a community, as well as to our academic advancement. It is yet again a great privilege and honor to be presenting Richard Erskine with the 2018 Eric Berne Memorial Award. In fact, I presented Richard his first Eric Berne Memorial Award in Zurich in 1998. This is in fact Richard's third EBMA, and what an achievement and recognition this is for his contribution to our transactional analysis community. Richard is not with us today, but we are grateful that Sharon Kalinko will accept Richard's award and give us his acceptance speech. Richard's award is for unconscious experience, attachment patterns, and neuropsychological research in the psychotherapy of life scripts. This is based on the following articles: Psychotherapy of Unconscious Experience, Transactional Analysis Journal 38, Life Scripts and Attachment Patterns, Theoretical Integration and Therapeutic Involvement, Life Scripts, Unconscious Relational Patterns and Psychotherapeutic Involvement. Richards was nominated by the following people: Anne Kohlhaas, plus 3 people from Germany, Valerie Perret from Switzerland, Carol Merle-Fishman from USA, Mary Riley O'Knapp, plus 3 others from the USA, Millie de Michel, who coordinated a group of 65 people from Spain, Italy and Switzerland, Hungary, Serbia, Romania, Slovenia, France, UK, Belgium, the Netherlands, Ukraine, Turkey, USA, Australia, Canada, South Africa, Singapore, New Zealand and Brazil. Overall, there were 75 signatories in over 20 countries supporting this nomination. This is an incredible testimony to how many people Richard has impacted, and such an incredible rich legacy that he passes on to all of us. What was very moving and interesting, and always is, was that the nominators' statements were similar in thoughts and sentiments, and the essence that was represented in these statements were: Erskine's writings enriched the theory of life script by merging Berne's theories with concepts from child development and current research about early childhood attachment patterns. It is helpful for transactional analysts to understand the unconscious dynamics and attachment patterns that form the protocol and palimpsest of a person's life. These writings clearly place the concept of life script in the area of relational disturbances in early childhood. Eric Berne addressed this idea in transactional analysis in psychotherapy without necessarily further developing his idea. Yes, it is true, Berne did not further develop this or many of his ideas because he did not have the gift of time. His untimely death left him and us with many unresolved questions and a theory in an evolutionary state, which we could say is true for all theories, which perhaps differentiates an alive, growing system from a more dogmatic one. In the former, that is, in an alive system, there is permission to change, to challenge, to differentiate, and to grow without that differing position or opinion being experienced as disloyal. Unfortunately for Berne, he cut off from his psychoanalytic roots for many hypothesized reasons, and this cutting off experience we have carried in various ways. This phenomenon of splitting and moving away in order to be heard is more common than not in many families and systems. But it is that Richard never did. He held the old while creating the new, which is evident in his working and reworking of his theories on life scripts. Berne's original but also redefined definition of script that is most commonly used is a life plan based on decisions made in childhood, reinforced by parents, justified by subsequent events, and culminating in chosen alternatives. His language perhaps reflected his opposition to psychoanalytic thinking, which I have previously referred to, together with his belief that if we were once capable of making early decisions that mapped the path of our life, we are equally able to make decisions in later life to change. This, in the context of the late 50s, was revolutionary and optimistic, and provided hope that change was possible and certainly attainable. This represented the humanistic philosophy and practice which was very much part of the zeitgeist in the late 50s and early 60s. Berne's theories were often explained in rather reductionistic ways and operationalized within a cognitive behavioral framework, and this in no way detracts from his brilliance, but sometimes it became the very splinter in the foot. We will never know who Berne might have become and how his theories and practice would have developed, but we certainly do have the privilege of knowing and experiencing Richard's development over time and his ongoing commitment to evolving and integrating theory and practice, which has brought him 3 EBMA awards and his impressive following in the world. In contrast to Berne, Erskine writes the following: "Scripts are a self-protective way of compensating for what was and may still be missing in relationship while ensuring a semblance of relationship. The process of script formation is relationally interactive and personally creative." And here we note the tonal, language, theoretical and philosophical evolvement from Berne. Richard does not deny or discount Berne's original theory, but he breathes life into words, sentiments and theories that could appear rather technical and matter-of-fact, which seem like a contradiction, since it was Berne who introduced the importance of the interpersonal dynamic. One could even say that he was an early relational thinker, but had no time to develop this in a more congruent model. Richard had time, and he brought his heart into the theory and life of life scripts, where meeting relational needs is a central change agent for the original script. He moves the concept of script cure from a decision to a felt somatic change at the cognitive, the behavioral, and the affective level. In doing this, he elegantly and astutely brings a synthesis and integration of diverse theories, thereby placing transactional analysis within the breadth and depth of classical and contemporary thinking and practice. In this way, we transactional analysts are not necessarily an island, but part of the broad world of psychological theories. This in itself could be seen as a script change for transactional analysis, which affects each one of us here and our standing in the greater psychological world. When language can talk to each other, we communicate and belong in a very different felt way. Richard has had time to do this, the gift that Berne did not. Richard has used his time to evolve and transform himself, as well as keep our theories and practice alive through evolving and developing them. This has facilitated our TA theories to have relevance in contemporary thinking. His gift becomes ours, and for this, Richard, we thank you deeply. To change the past in the present in order to enable a different future, a central Bernian statement that you, Richard, have truly honored. And with that, we congratulate you for a very, very well-deserved award. Thank you. So Sharon, would you like to come up to receive the EBMA for Richard? I think I have to pretend.
I don't look like...
No, I don't have the award. I think it's been sent to Richard. But yes, yes.
I feel deeply honored to be standing here to receive this prestigious award on behalf of Richard, who has been my mentor and friend for many, many years. And I'm grateful to be able to do this acceptance in the light of the fact that so many people have been unable to get here and that others have had to leave early due to the natural disaster that we're experiencing here. And I would like to thank all those from other countries who've sent messages to us of support and care and concern. I'm now going to read what Richard has written. I'm thankful to a group of colleagues who gathered at the European Association for Transactional Analysis Conference in Geneva in July 2017 to discuss my writings about the unconscious dynamics and attachment patterns in the psychotherapy of life scripts. Stemming from that conference, several people spontaneously offered to nominate me for the trilogy of publications that both define and describe the dynamic of life scripts. I'm particularly grateful to Millie de Michele from Genoa, Italy, and Amaya Maurice Echtabe from Bilbao, Spain, who initiated conversations with a large number of colleagues in several countries about the theoretical significance of the life script trilogy, and how these developmentally based, relationally focused concepts can be applied to our work as transactional analysts. Simultaneously, in Germany, Anne Kohlhaas and Richard Reith were also talking with their German colleagues about the significance of my ideas on the psychotherapy of scripts. They too nominated me for this award based on the same 3 publications. About the same time, Mary O'Reilly Knapp discussed the clinical applications of my writings with members of a professional development seminar in the United States. They also decided to nominate me for the same 3 publications. My heart is deeply touched by the scores of people who signed the nominations. They come from Australia, Canada, Belgium, France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Romania, Russia, Serbia, Slovenia, Spain, Singapore, South Africa, Switzerland, Turkey, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and the United States of America. Thank you to each of you. You have made me a citizen of the world. Some background. Almost 60 years ago, Eric Berne briefly presented the rudimentary ideas of life script in his 1961 book, Transactional Analysis in Psychotherapy. Although he further described some of the elements of script in his posthumous book, What Do You Say After You Say Hello?, he did not thoroughly develop the therapeutic use of this vital concept. He left the delineation and development of the psychotherapeutic aspects and details of life scripts to future transactional analysts. Years ago, I adopted Berne's mission and have dedicated my professional development to reading, researching, and writing about life scripts and understanding how to apply the theories in psychotherapy with my clients. The result is a trilogy on the psychotherapy of life scripts that is composed of 2 articles and a book chapter. It is best if these 3 publications are read in the sequence in which they were published. The trilogy includes Psychotherapy of the Unconscious Experience, Transactional Analysis Journal 38 in 2008. In 2009, Life Scripts and Attachment Patterns, Theoretical Integration and Therapeutic Involvement, TA Journal 39, and in 2010, Life Scripts, Unconscious Relational Patterns and Psychotherapeutic Involvement, in R.G. Erskine, editor, Life Scripts, a transactional analysis of unconscious relational patterns. I first heard about the idea of Life Script in 1967 in a workshop with Fritz Perls. Although Fritz credited Eric Berne with having formulated the concept of script, he described Life Scripts as self-confirming, repetitive conclusions and patterns in Personal Communications, September 28, 1967. I again learnt about scripts in 1969 in a TA training program with David Kupfer at Wabash Valley Hospital. I was fascinated by the concept of script and how useful it was in changing my own life. After David Kupfer's death in 1971, Hedges Capers assumed responsibility for the training group. With Hedges, we spent several training sessions exploring the concept of script, how it fit our own lives, and how we could use the theoretical concept to develop therapeutic methods that could improve the psychotherapy we did with our clients. The early 1970s were a fervent time in formulating the concept and psychotherapeutic use of script theory. Many ideas about script were presented at the ITAA conferences and later published in the TA Journal. Allen and Allen in 1972, English in 1972, Goulding in 1972, Holloway 1972, Jongewaard in 1971, Steiner in 1971 and 74, Stuntz in 1972, Willems in 1973, and Wyckoff in 1971 and 1974. These writers formulated script in terms of ego states, complete with various diagrams and matrices that depicted script as being composed of parental injunctions, compliance, counter-injunctions, and decisions. These theoretical writings intrigued me, yet that they did not seem to say enough. They did not adequately describe the neglects, traumas, and early life experiences that my clients were revealing. As a result, I became keenly interested in the psychotherapeutic application of the theory of scripts. With the influence of these authors, my own need for deeper understanding, and stimulating discussions with several TA colleagues, I published an article in 1980 entitled Script Cure. That article described the changes in physiology, affect, cognition, and behavioral patterns that were the result of an effective in-depth psychotherapy in Erskine 1980. Over the next several years, I experimented with a variety of psychotherapeutic methods that facilitated my clients relinquishing their archaic relational patterns. Via several therapeutic examples, I elaborated the theme of intrapsychic integration and described some of the methods effective in a script cure in a book co-authored by Janet Moorsand entitled Integrative Therapy in Action in 1988 and 2011. In 1973, I realized that I often organized my psychotherapeutic work around several elements that form a life script: repressed needs and feelings, beliefs about self, relationships with others, and the quality of life, repetitive behaviors, fantasies, and physiological experiences and reinforcing experiences. These interrelated elements constitute the script system, as shown in Erskine and Moorsand 1988, O'Reilly, Knapp and Erskine in 2010. This script system was originally published in 1979, co-authored with Marilyn Zaltzman under the title The Record System, a model for record analysis, Erskine and Zaltzman 1979. Marilyn and I were honored by our TA colleagues with the Eric Berne Scientific Award in 1981. In the mid-1970s, Marilyn and I were trying to resolve the confusion in the transactional analysis literature about the definition and meaning of Eric Berne's term record and how it related to his concept of script. After publishing the record system article, we realized that we were describing the essential elements of how a life script was lived out in the present moment through core beliefs, behaviors, fantasies, and body reactions. Most of the previous transactional analysis articles described how script was formed. I was interested in the transaction by transaction expression of my clients' script beliefs and how I could help them transform their inhibiting life script into a healthy, meaningful, and fulfilling life, complete with loving relationships. I have always been interested in how to provide an effective psychotherapy that would facilitate the client's relinquishing of relational patterns that formed a script. A life script that is unconscious, yet enacted behaviorally, experienced affectively, embodied physiologically, and justified cognitively. Some of the therapeutic methods are outlined in a series of articles for which Rebecca Troutman and I received the Eric Berne Memorial Award in 1998. Erskine 98, Troutman and Erskine 99. Definition of life script. Life scripts are a complex set of unconscious relational patterns based on physiological survival reactions, implicit experiential conclusions, explicit decisions, and/or self-stabilizing introjections made under stress at any developmental age that inhibit spontaneity and limit flexibility in problem solving, health maintenance, and in relationships with people. Erskine 1980 and 2016. Life scripts are a result of the cumulative failures in significant dependent relationships. These unconscious script patterns most probably have been formulated, reinforced, and elaborated over a number of developmental ages as a result of repeated ruptures in relationships with significant others. These unconscious patterns influence the reactions and expectations that define for us the kind of world that we live in, the people we are, and the quality of interpersonal relationships that we will have with others. Erskine 2016. These archaic relational patterns may be unconscious because relational neglect and emotional trauma is not recorded as explicit and symbolic memory, but as physiological survival reactions, intense undifferentiated affects, as well as sub-symbolic and procedural memory. These unconscious relational patterns constitute the core dynamics of a person's life script. Erskine 2008. The formulation of this multifaceted definition of life scripts is based on extensive reading in a wide range of literature that includes child development, research and theory, neurobiological research, and therapeutic implications. The theories and methods of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis, classical novels, and biographies, and 50 years of experience with clients, displaying a variety of personality types. I have been profoundly influenced by the authors who have described the emotional and cognitive development of children and how a child's psychological health and maturation is absolutely dependent on the quality of interpersonal relationship with significant caretakers. The writings of Daniel Stern in 1985, John Bowlby in 1969, 73 and 80, Erik Erikson in 1950, Selma Freiberg in 1959 and 82, and Jean Piaget in 1952 and 54, as well as a number of current child development researchers, guide my therapeutic inquiry. My psychotherapeutic focus on unconscious relational patterns and the devastating effects of insecure attachment is bolstered by a myriad of neurological research, particularly the works of Cozzolino in 2006, Damasio in 1999, Porges in 1995, and Siegel in 2007. Theory into practice. I am always asking clients about the quality of their early relationships, the subtle neglects, the emotionally fraught experiences that may have been traumatic, the various interpersonal dynamics in their family, school, and peer group, the presence or absence of intimate moments, the nature of dialogue within the family, and how they manage their day-to-day life. Through a combination of phenomenological and historical inquiry, I endeavor to decipher the pre-linguistic attachment patterns and tacit assumptions that form the protocol and palimpsest of life script. Berne, 1961. The client's emerging stories reflect the physiological survival reactions, procedural memories, implicit experiential conclusions, explicit decisions, and parental interjections that compose a life script. Through our intersubjective dialogue, the client's previously inchoate emotions and rudimentary experiences become configured into a consistent, comprehensive, and integrated life narrative, an essential component of a script cure. Each way in which the life script is formed requires a specific focus in psychotherapy. In this trilogy on life scripts and in several other publications, I outline various therapeutic approaches that are effective with each dimension of the client's script. For example, the client whose script is formed from physiological survival reactions in response to emotional or physical trauma most likely requires a body-oriented approach within a protective psychotherapy. The client whose unconscious relational patterns are composed of implicit experiential conclusions that reflect a history of cumulative neglect will require a developmentally based and relationally focused psychotherapy. Therapeutic permission may be most effective when the client's script has been formed by verbal injunctions. An active redecision therapy is appropriate for clients who've made an explicit script decision, whereas a script composed of introjection may require therapy with the client's parent ego state. But the formation of a life script is not so simple as I just described. Many of my clients had life scripts that were formed from 2, 3, or more circumstances. Each of these circumstances may have occurred at various developmental ages. They required a multifaceted approach to their psychotherapy that interwove several therapeutic approaches, an intersubjective relational focus that revealed and addressed their implicit conclusions, a psychotherapy that brought awareness of the story in their body, a responsiveness to their developmental ages and what relational needs were repeatedly unsatisfied during early childhood and adolescence, therapeutic permission to live free of inhibiting injunctions, active emotional expression and support to make a redecision, and a psychotherapy that addresses the script issues that may have been introjected from a significant other. This is not the place to elaborate on the various types of script or the variety of methods used in facilitating a script cure. Instead, I refer you to the 3 publications that have received this Eric Berne Memorial Award. Thank you for the opportunity to share these ideas with you. I wish you a wonderful conference. With appreciation, Richard.